God is moving. It's Young People Nation.
Welcome to Young People Nation. Listen to us weekly as we commit to bring transparency, healing, and truth to the everyday situations in life that might bring you down. Join us for your weekly dose of inspiration. Thank you for listening to Young People Nation. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And now, here's your host, Eugene and Donna Perry.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know his word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Give the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross.
Welcome back to Session 2 with Young People Nation. And we are gifted to have Brian, better known as Levi, in the community. And Brian has achieved very high. He's been in CEO positions in financial institutions and in the community, but he recognized that he had to make a change in his life, and he made the decision to face his truth and to be free and to get the help. And through his process and healing journey, he has served and given back to the community, which is what we're all supposed to do when we get past whatever our obstacles sometimes can be. But he has given back and worked in the Health Foundation, the Bridges of Hope, and Pyramid Healthcare, and some other ones that we haven't made mention of, but he has given back to the community, and he makes himself available for those who are in need and who are dealing with addictions. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. I was just thinking about that when I had a period of time where I was using substances, right? And I was doing things that I knew I shouldn't do, but I was also achieving things in my life, right? Because for me, not thinking I was worthy of my Father's love, okay?
Right.
I had to achieve a certain level, right? To feel worthy, right? Or to feel like I was successful, right? So I strived at doing that. And quite frankly, I probably fell up the ladder a little bit along the way.
Okay.
Right time, right place. Because I always had that on the side, the addiction and alcoholism. But I had some success in work, and that stuff came naturally to me as far as managing people, managing balance sheets and income statements, and knowing how to be successful as far as a business. And I did. You're right. I had a small credit union actually in South Carolina that I went to that was in trouble. They were the FDIC had them pretty much where they were going to have a year to try to turn it around, right? And it's called conservatorship, and they were under that. And we went over there. My old boss Ed thought I was crazy.
Yeah,
and told me it was a sinking ship. Why would you want to jump on a sinking ship? But I saw something in the numbers, right? And I felt like we could do something. Put a team of people together, and turn that place around, right? And you're right. Had a title, President CEO. Right? And I thought that would make me feel better about myself, but it didn't,
And we're going to talk about that too, moving into your adulthood with unresolved mental health issues.
There's so many things I could talk about as far as mental illness and mental health, particularly not being aware of it, not knowing exactly what it was at first, but more importantly, just being rooted in denial of a mental illness and let my pride get in the way, right? I didn't want to have a mental illness. I didn't want to be diagnosed bipolar or have depression or anxiety. I didn't want that. Right? And I thought there was a stigma with that, that for whatever reason, even though I knew there was something going on, I was different, right? And I had some problems that I was using substances to try to help me with. I would not acknowledge the mental illness because of pride and ego. And then the other thing is all of a sudden, over a 10, 15-year period, I'm very successful in work, right?
Yes.
And I'm able to influence people in institutions and all of that, working in concert. I was trying to make myself feel valued, right? Because when you're discarded and abandoned, right, you lose value in yourself.
Yes.
And that's what we were talking about earlier as far as, what was I seeking in all this?
Right.
I was seeking fulfillment and value, right?
Yes.
I'm enough, right?
That's powerful.
Oh my God, I wanted to be enough. Because my father, I thought, didn't think I was enough. Made the choice to leave us, right?
Yes.
So with that type of mentality, growing up in that, and it amplifies. It gets worse, right? Enough. It was never enough.
Wow.
Right.
So I'm sitting there. I'm the president and CEO of a company, right?
Yes.
I've got this beautiful office. I have people that are around me that I love and that look to me for guidance, right?
Right.
I've got the Corvette parked out here, the Cadillac. I've got the truck, the boats, the beautiful house, the beautiful wife, right? On the outside, everything looks wonderful. I'm sitting at that desk one day, and I thought to myself, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
And let me take that a step further. It wasn't just I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this anymore, and I might be better off not being here.
Suicide.
First time I thought about suicide or being better off dead. That was the moment. Sitting at that desk, I had a tremendous amount of money and assets and reasons to be happy, right?
Right.
And it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. I was also very addicted at that time to opiates.
Okay.
Painkillers.
Wow.
That's where that started. Okay, it came back to me after many years, and I was at a different institution at the time.
Yes.
And had been there about 9 years, and I had my second major back surgery.
Okay.
In recovery, right? I had been in a recovered state for many years.
Okay.
And we had some complications. I was laid up for more than a month, really, sleeping in a recliner. The pain was tremendous, right? It was debilitating, both physically and mentally, because you couldn't get away from it, right?
Right.
You couldn't get any kind of peace. And it was tremendous. And they were giving me anything that I wanted because they knew what kind of pain I was in.
Right.
So I'm taking these things like candy, just trying to get rid of the pain. Well, then that same feeling I described with my first drink, right? That spiritual experience came back a little bit. All of a sudden, the pain was gone a little bit, right? I felt better. I started getting up, doing things, and it gave me this euphoric feeling that is hard to describe, but addicts and alcoholics seek that, you know, and that's why they seek more. So I think not knowing what to do about my mental illness, right, and understanding that there was something there, I was self-medicating
Right.
for not only abandonment value, but also because of my mental illness, right?
It was
that
a
I
lot
had.
of stacking on top of each other, wasn't it?
It was tremendous.
Yes.
Tremendous on top of it. And that's when it amplified, not the right word, but it progressed, right?
Right.
Yes.
And it progressed. And in the transition to the bottom that I eventually hit, it's hard to describe, you know?
Let me ask you something. What age were you when you decided to seek help, and what was your breaking point?
The first time I was 33.
Okay.
And I was working and having a lot of success, and but the drinking and the drugs, you know, were starting to show themselves. You know,
Right.
I started being a little bit different person. I wasn't taking care of myself as much. I was missing work a lot. Right.
Okay.
I wasn't accountable to the people that I was supposed to be accountable to, and it was obvious to my family, right? I'm 6'1" right now, about 217 pounds. I weighed
Right.
myself this morning because I worry about it, right? Because I'm bigger than I've ever been. But I was 163 pounds, 6'1". I had bed sores on my back from being laid up a
Wow.
little bit. I was in really bad shape. I had stopped eating, okay, towards the end. Alcoholics, for whatever reason, and for me, I stopped eating, and all I did was drink around the clock, even in the morning.
Right.
And when it got to that point, I needed help. I knew I needed help. So what I sought was treatment. So I went to treatment for the first time in 2003, and they taught me about alcoholism and addiction, and they also described to me what mental illness, you know, they thought I had, right? As I was
Right.
living on polar extremes of one another, right?
Okay.
I was never in the middle, and I was using substances to try to self-medicate that state of mind, right? And that's the first time I was introduced to the idea that there's something in my core, right? That the root problem that I needed to address.
Yes.
Right? And a lot of it goes back to childhood, my father, my household, right? A lot of it goes back to this proposition that I'm not worthy, or I don't have enough value.
Right.
So I want to ask you both something, because you said something key about your father. How important is it for a father to be present in a household And do you believe if your father was more present, your life would have been different?
I'd love to think that, and I do, because I think some of the behaviors, right, the things that I was doing to try to get attention and going down that road, right, I don't think would have been as prevalent if my dad was still there. There would be no need to get his attention, right?
Okay.
And say, look, Dad, look what I'm doing. You're doing the same thing, right? There wouldn't have been that need to act out or to feel like the victim, right?
Right.
Because that's what it really drove into, is feeling like I was a victim, and it gave me some type of justification for poor behavior, right? And to act out. And, like I said earlier, if this had happened to you, you'd be like this too. So I think fathers, in a lot of ways, set the tone in a household, in a family, okay?
Yes.
And
That's so true.
It's critically important. It
Yes.
really is. For guidance, stability, right?
Right.
And love. It always comes back to love.
Right.
Yes.
Right. It's always a foundation there with the father, that the father, you want to please him. You want to be the apple of your father's eye. I know with me, championship after championship, competition after competition, winning, and still it wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So the more he rejected me, the more I increased. And all the way to the point where I couldn't win no more championships. I couldn't go no farther. And it was still the same. It was like performing before an empty hole. And therefore, rebellion kicks in. The negative, exposure. Because my father was in the house, but he wasn't talking to me.
Yeah.
And being an invisible person, because I wasn't even considered a person, to be there in the house and not even be addressed as a human being was very discouraging. And therefore you found other ways of getting that substitute, the acceptance.
I'm sorry, go ahead, honey.
The acceptance now. And with that, only through God and a strong mother was I able to.
Thank God for our mothers, huh?
Was I able to overcome that?
So you said something very key. Both of your fathers was in the house physically, but they weren't present.
Right.
Right.
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier about what can parents do, right? It's
Yes.
to be present.
Right.
And you just said it. You can be sitting in the same room, right? And there's no communication. There's no connection, right?
Right.
You also said something that I thought was real powerful, right? You said rejection.
Yes.
So what's wrong with me, right? What's wrong with me? If I'm rejected in some way, the immediate thought for me, there's something wrong with me.
Oh yeah.
So it creates insecurity,
Yes,
so to speak.
yes, yes.
It really does.
Yes.
I'm real grateful that I had a mother in the household that was always present, right?
Right.
She was a teacher, a spiritual teacher in a lot of ways. She just, all we had to do was watch her, right? But she was always present in everything that my brother and I did.
That's powerful.
She was always present, right? And she provided guidance. She didn't dictate, right? And she didn't say you had to do this, but she did it in a loving way where she would give it to you and lay it at your feet, and then there was a choice you had to make.
Right.
You're going to do that, you know?
I know man could just give me a certain look, and the whole
He looks
conversation,
just like her. Yeah.
whole conversation that went by. Cause I know with my father and all. I remember a time, an incident, we went 3 months without even saying good morning to each other.
Yeah.
And I felt so isolated, and I could never do nothing right. And he never called me. When he did call me, he didn't call me by my name for a while. I was a curse word, and so much I thought my name was that curse word, and it was very demeaning, and my confidence was shot, and it seemed like I didn't have a future, and therefore, with that, other elements come into it. You know, being with the wrong groups, being part of certain avenues of life that you will never go down for, and all you want is acceptance.
Acceptance is the key.
Yes.
It absolutely is the key. As a matter of fact, my girlfriend Karen sent me something this morning, and I love what it said, because it said, acceptance is the magic that makes change possible. It is not forever, right? It is for the present moment.
Yes.
Right.
And that's the thing I could never live in, is the moment. I
Yes.
could never be here. Where are your feet at? My old sponsor Doc used to say, where are your feet at? And but acceptance is the key for a lot of things. And when I played victim for a long time and justified behavior, I couldn't get to any level of acceptance.
Right.
How you describe that relationship with your father in the same household, I think is prevalent in many households here.
Yes.
Right.
And there are children, there are teenagers, there are young adults that have never had the guidance that they need. Right?
Yes.
Right.
And they look at social media, or they look at individuals that are famous, or they look at whatever it is that they think has value, and they strive towards that. And then they don't meet the expectation, a lot of them. Right. Think about the ones that have these expectations, and when they don't get there, what do they feel like? They feel like a failure.
Right. Yes.
And then they start to feel something about their own self-worth or value, like I was talking about earlier. And when they do that, what are they going to do? They're going to seek escape.
Right. Yes.
And they don't want to feel that.
Yes.
Right.
And for me, not feeling was drugs and alcohol. It was success.
Yes.
Right.
It was trying to be something that I thought would give me value. The only reason why I really pushed myself to be successful in work is because I wanted to know that I had value, right? And that that I was worthy. And it goes back to that relationship with my father. It really does. And I wanted my mother to be proud of me.
Right.
Yes.
Because my mother had kind of persevered and pushed through. So I I think it's a real important point. Be present. Be where you're at.
And I'm honored to be his wife. And you would have never known he went through that. And I'm just honored that he chose to share that with me in our earlier years. However, in his journey, he's learned why his father was like that, because
I have too.
he had issues. And so he couldn't give him what he didn't have.
That's right. That's
And
right.
not saying he didn't have a good father, but he had some internal issues he wasn't willing to deal with.
My father did too.
And so therefore, because, and honey, you correct me if I'm incorrect, that because of who actually was your biological father and all that stuff, it just went along with what was going on in the household, correct?
Well, it played a major part. And keeping family secrets are the worst.
Family secrets. Wow.
You know, you're
That's powerful, too.
taking the truth to the grave. It doesn't work.
Wow. Okay, I just was quiet because these guys was vibing real good. And it is important for fathers to be present, and mothers, don't give up on your children.
Amen.
Okay, now, do you have anything to end with?
Well, I think what you guys were just talking about is if we're going to be present and be in the moment, right? I lived a lifetime outside of the present, right? I was always back here, right, with regret and shame and guilt, or I was way out here, right, in the future with anxiety and fears, right?
Right.
I was never in the moment, right? And that's all we're given is this moment. Right now, sitting here with you guys,
Yes.
right, is the moment that I live in today. And thank God he's given me that awareness of being present.
Yes.
Not only with him, but with everybody around me.
Yes.
Right.
It's opened up a whole nother world of, I just think what we're talking about with acceptance and
Right.
love and understanding. I've gained a great understanding about my father
Yes.
and his mental illness,
Yes.
the abuse that he suffered as a child, and the things that happened to him. 2 tours in Vietnam as a tank commander,
Right.
and being injured. All those things were, I think, influencing him in a way that I didn't understand. But I learned to understand alcoholism and drug addiction later through my own experience, and it changed my perception of my father.
All right. Okay. Wow. This conversation could keep going, but we're on the time. Okay. So we'd like to thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And we always like to give out our mental health hotlines, 988 hotline. Text 741 to 741. That's free 24/7 crisis counseling. And if you don't quite know what to do, you can call 211 for general community resources. Okay, Mr. Perry.
Fathers, take a time out every day to tell your kids that you love them.
Amen.
You know, I waited 35 years for my father told me he loved me. And once he done that, there was a breath of fresh air in my life. And remember, are you living the life that you can that you want to live? Or are you just existing? This has been Young People Nation. Remember, there is always hope.
Let's go. Christ is the foundation. Know his word gon' lead us. Know I'm already going. Taking steps I believe in. Giving guidance to the youth. Giving guidance to the lost. Give the world to the project. Lead them back to the cross. He the #1 prospect. He the top boss. I was broke, I was empty. He the one that paid the cost. Really thought that I was cool. There was nothing like the savior. Now it's time for the truth. The whole world been waiting. It's Young People Nation. 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 The whole world been waiting. Whatever you going through, I know what he gonna do. Don't matter the circumstance, we going back to the root. Keep going. Let that seed keep growing. You need peace and we know it. Now it's time to live holy. Young People Nation. You know what time it is. Young People Nation. Get ready, the time is here. Get ready, we vibing here. We about to let God in here. Young People Nation. It's Young People Nation. Yeah, do it for the heavens, you know where we going. Influenced by his love, you know we gotta show it. It's time to put the youth onto what God is doing. Cause I can tell you now, right now, that God is moving. It's Young People Nation.